Coach.
What's up, guys?
Coach, got some questions. A couple questions. Okay, so David and I have been training the handgun combatives recently. We've been doing basically kind of looking in like the laboratory, as you always talk about. He comes in for the gun. We got the industry standard stuff. Every once in a while I'll say like, oh, let's change it up. So he reaches with the other hand. And we've got all these different options that he and I are kind of cooking from what we know of other martial arts. But that's a lot. That's a soup of things. So when it comes to like weapon retention, exactly what are you looking at from CTAC, from civilian tactical, or from whatever? How do you think we should be training this to retain this? What is the Sifu Alan Baker
All right.
thought process here?
Well, for me, I would break it down based on time. And you guys know we've talked about this a lot. I'm going to have ahead of time options,
Right.
and I'm going to have behind time options. And a lot of times we'll learn stuff behind time first.
Yeah.
I like to plan to be ahead of time and be prepared to be behind time. And generally behind time is going to be an attachment.
So if he's grabbed me, I'm already behind.
Correct.
Yeah.
If he gets an attachment to the firearm,
Then-
I would call it behind time. You're late.
Right.
So I would start by training to have a option built into the body. You know, we want to get it into the nervous system to be ahead of time.
Right.
And for me, it's framing. Now I talk about framing a lot, grappling, striking, because it's one of the few things that'll exist in multiple environments. And which is something we do in TAC on a regular basis is the low, tie, and tie drill.
Right.
So I'd take a look at that first.
So basically the load. Can you show that, David, real quick,
Sure.
just so we can see?
And so, I mean, you've got different options depending on where they carry. Like I carry appendix. It looks like you guys are wearing on the hip today. So I've got different options, which is going to be a straight across grip or an across grip. That's the cool thing about the low tie and tie drill is it picks up both lines. And so the idea is if he goes for that, I want to get that initial response.
You're ahead.
Right. You know, I want to train an initial response into my nervous system to be ahead of time. In other
Right.
words, I want to build a reaction that gets me ahead of the curve. And
Right.
if I miss, then it's going to be other answers.
Right.
And the nice thing about this is if it is a bladed entry, the frame works. If they're reaching for anything on your belt line, frame works, right? And later it can be a striking tool too. We could add those options in.
Okay.
So it's as we say in TAC, it's a multi-tool.
Right.
It's a technique or an idea that'll work in multiple different scenarios.
Okay.
So the basic drill is a 3-count drill.
And we've done this, the 1, 2,
right.
3.
So he reaches, and again, we'll say same side just to learn it. I put the frame in, frame a second time, and for me, I like to control the tricep immediately because I'm probably going to go somewhere or move him after this.
Right.
And I can feed it back in for a coach to do it like that.
And it's a drill that you guys can just kind of recycle it, and you're getting reps in.
Yep. And you know, one of the reasons what makes a good drill is rhythmic repetition and consistently doing it over time.
Getting that memory.
You guys want to play it for a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
all
that's
right.
it.
Okay. So you're coming in. I'm going 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Bang. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Bang, bang.
Okay, so you're playing the drill and ingraining a nervous response. Hopefully it comes out under pressure. Then I'd want to play it out of realistic scenario. You know, it's not common that we're going to start from this position. Most of the time we're training to come out of this position. It's,
Right.
you know, it is a common position for dealing with something in a social exchange. I don't want any trouble. And then he reaches for the firearm from there, and I want to have that response.
The foot goes
So
back.
you can play it out of that idea to, you know, give it a little, start to bring it into a scenario training idea, make it
Sure.
a little more realistic.
So like maybe he backs up a little, and then he starts coming in, and I'm like, hey, then, and the second I see the reach, like that.
Correct.
and he backs up a little.
Yeah, I don't have any trouble.
And I'm coming to you. I'm just
Hey,
approaching,
easy deal.
and then I suddenly want that weapon, and then we just kind of creep back. The hands are up, no trouble. But I see that start to happen. My hand is already looking for that. Okay, I move towards him. Hey, man.
Hey, man. How are we doing today? You good?
I don't know, man. You tell me.
Oh, I think you're doing fantastic. Right over there is where you need to be. I don't need to see you any closer.
It was never.
I don't have anything for you, friend.
I like it. Hands are up already.
Hey, man, what's that's in your pocket? I think that belongs to me.
I don't think it does, man.
I think it does.
Like, you need to step back.
What you got that for?
Right. And it's great because as you do it, this is online, right? So it feels like the stuff I already know is right there ready to go. The other tools are ready.
I think as long as your
Like-
frames are there, I'll
And that's
have the
what
potential of bouncing off of it.
we'll add next.
Okay, because I was about to say, he reaches in, and the old industry standard, I have both hands occupied right now, and there's other things, but what's nice about this is like that's there,
Correct.
and then that's there. So you said we're going to evolve this to something else now?
Yeah, I mean, and that comes down to training position in your body.
Yeah.
It's another good reason for drilling, you know, and sometimes drilling doesn't necessarily look like fighting. It doesn't
Right.
have to, right?
Right.
Because you can choose concepts and ideas that you want to ingrain into your system, and you want them to be there in case it comes out under stress in a chaotic moment. So one of the next things is training just to be in the right position at the right time.
Yeah.
So that's pretty common is when I place, there's different options that this could be. Like I said, I like framing.
Why do you like the frame?
Well, because framing exists in striking and grappling. So if you think about this, and I hit you.
Yep.
You're pretty
Been
tough. You've been hit before, and pretty tough grappler. And if your goal is to get in, yeah, you can take the hit and still enter.
Mm-hmm.
You might just take it and then come inside and end up in a tie-up position. And as grapplers, one of the ways we'll stop that is if you enter, I'll build a frame of some type. You know, we do this in standing grappling, and we do it in grappling on the ground. That's why I like it. So it can exist as a frame, or it can exist as a strike.
Right.
It just depends. And I might not get to choose in the moment, because again, it might be in a chaotic moment. He actually decides it. If he reaches, right, if he chooses to drive at that moment,
Yeah.
then it becomes a frame. If not, it's just going to be one of the strikes that are going to happen as part of that sequence. And like I said, one of the reasons I like the tie and tie is because it gives us a control position on the arm, because I really don't want to be in front of David for the fight, right? If he comes in, I'd like to turn him almost immediately.
Nice.
And having trained your hands to be in the right place at the right time on that third motion, right there. You can arm drag, you can turn him, or you could flank him and move into a superior position. That's a good place to start a fight, is next to or behind someone.
I like, ever since you started showing this, you know, I've been training with you for years, David has too. I've seen this a lot from you, and it's evolved into this thing. What I like about it too is even if this hand, when he comes in, if this hand somehow like just missed, that one's there.
Correct.
So even though I went here and here, it doesn't have to be a double tap. If this fails, that arm is there. Like, oops, this one messed up, that one's online. So it's here.
Correct. Yeah.
It really works well like a wall, and you just keep that frame. And like you said, he moves in. If he were to just use his body weight, this is very strong. This idea is very strong frame, and having that on that arm feels, to me, way better than what I was taught in the classic industry standard, where I'm fighting an arm, and I'm hoping he cares about this.
Right.
Because if he's high on PCP or something, he may, or if he's just as hard-headed as David is naturally, he may not feel this. But this frame, it doesn't matter how much, it's a good frame, and it's keeping him away from that weapon.
Right. And if he does get an attachment, then you apply something behind time. Like we said, we're training to be ahead of time, but attachments will still happen.
Right.
Like I carry it in a different position. I'm mostly appendix like that. So if he grabs and I still attempt, but at that moment I feel that there is an attachment, then I can switch to that game. I can switch and rip it off, and start to do a pass of some type after that. So we're shooting to be ahead of time, but we're, if I feel that in that moment, and again, that would be a tactile sensitivity, which that comes out of the drill as well.
Yeah.
Once I recognize it, then I'll double grip and rip, or I will attack it. Anytime you make an attachment, it's kind of a grappling idea. So I would want to have some sort of striking idea as well. So if he gets that attachment and I'm there, right? So having the option to, play, and again, it could be framing. I just like framed elbows. Again, if
Very
there's a
strong,
right, it puts them in position. So we have both.
Yeah.
You have a striking option. I would look at it as destroying the attachment, or I'll have to go to the double grip and rip. You guys want to play that for a sec?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So from the drill, we're just going through here. And then every once in a while, he really goes in and gets it. So I'm technically behind time right now. And I'm striking, here. And then I go for David. So we're going through the drill. And then one time I get really in here. Bang. Oof. Yeah. Are you coming to me? Oh, come to you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for not grabbing my gun.
All right. How's it feel?
Good, but I'm sitting here wondering, what do you got if the level of violence or the threat level increases? It's no longer just empty hand. I'm not just, the threat's been made. I'm not just protecting this anymore.
So you're going up like
Lethal force situation is what you're saying.
yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Well,
The pressure goes up enough that I'm concerned about that.
you could elevate too,
Okay.
and depending on if you carry or not on a regular basis, I do, and I would just level up with them. If they're presenting a lethal force situation, you want to be able to elevate to that level as well. And we also want it to fit into the methodology and training that we're doing, which is the nice thing about what you're doing because it fits right in. Because if you're framing, you can turn it into a bladed frame pretty quick. I'm actually going to do the same thing we've done so far. It's just if I draw, it's one of the reasons I like to wear the blade in that position is because I use blading a lot. Grappling, striking, so I'm already online to reference pretty quickly. And and you could go to the weapon system as well. So you could just train it in. We'll do this because we're assuming he's aware of it.
Yeah.
That's why he's reaching for it. So I could turn it and go to a weapon system. And again, how you present it is important. Like I personally shoot down through the hip area because I don't want to catch someone behind you. Because I'm in an exchange, I might not be aware of who's over there. So when I come online, I don't want to shoot someone next door. And I'm close quarter, so I can actually fire down through the hip and a little more safely. So you have options where you can do the same drill, elevate to your firearm, or you do the same drill, we'll move, and I'll elevate to the bladed weapon system. So if he comes in, we'll just go slow, right? I have the same bladed options. Nothing changes as far as what we're doing. It's just steps it up a notch.
And that looks like, if I were to use David, he's coming in. It's a 1, 2, 3, and there's like a yoke grip kind of here.
Yeah.
And I'm just getting this here, and you're down here.
Yeah.
You're not, okay.
And generally, I'm going to put a lot of pressure on him to keep him busy.
Yeah.
I'm going to drive him forward, so he has to deal with forward pressure.
So he's coming in. You're looking at it like that.
Right. There's different ways to do it,
Yeah.
but he has to now deal with forward pressure. And if he is going for some type of weapon system as well, it gives him more to think about. He has to deal with that and get his system online. And I am in a good position because if I was successful, I've flanked him, and I'm approaching more from the side or the back.
Okay. So you want to try it? So if I come in, you're doing the same thing. Boom, boom. You're turning. Well, it worked because you had the frame.
Yeah, lost
So-
hands over.
So he did this, and his fingers just kind of slipped, but he went to frame, and it worked anyway.
And that's the benefit of starting with a drill and starting to ramp it up into a scenario.
'Cause-
Everything we're doing is training, but once you've drilled enough that it's comfortable and you feel like you have some answers hot-wired into your nervous system, then you start ramping it up into more intense scenario training.
Is this going into, as long as I've known you, you've always brought up the word laboratory. Is this getting up to the laboratory level? First it's training, but then there's the little mistakes, and then we talk about it, and then then what if? And then you discover more out of that drill.
Yeah,
And
generally I'll drill. Well, for me, I guess it would be more I'm in the environment.
So that means we're like, you actually,
So I'm grappling,
Okay.
I'm kickboxing, I'm pummeling, we would put gear on and fight. And then
that's the real laboratory.
I'm going to make mistakes in the fight, right?
Yeah.
And so on the day I make those mistakes, I'd pick out the biggest and worst one, and then I would try to
Make a drill or
make
something.
a drill or find a drill
To correct the...
to correct that mistake. And then I'm going to be doing that drill consistently over time with repetition until it's ingrained in the body. Then I come back and test it in the environment. You know, if it's fixed, then I go to the next problem.
Okay, so we can like hit a timer, let's say 5 minutes or 3 minutes, whatever, and we go back and forth and just drill it, left and right side. So he comes in, it could be this, and then at some point he's gonna do it and turn me completely and do that, and then it's my turn, and we do it slow. He comes to me so that we learn, and then on one of these, I'm gonna choose to turn him, right, and put some pressure in, and you learn it slow. And after you've been with your partner for a minute, you just kind of say like, hey, we did that pretty safely for 10 minutes. Ramp up the energy a little bit, get the pop, pop, pop. Not fighting yet, we're just ramping up a little bit of it because like he and I have been together for a while. So we can kind of pop. You just kind of pop it up and then you can always back off if you're going too much. And just try to increase that skill, like ingrain it. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, you want a volume knob on your environments
Right.
anyway. You
Right.
know, it's common to hear faster, harder is better, but that's not true.
I agree, I don't think so.
It's not that you shouldn't have days where you have hard goes, but you should do it intelligently. You know,
Right.
there should be an intelligent educational process involved with it. But you also should have days where you can adjust the volume knob with a good partner at a pace where you are in that moment. Because you may have a good nervous response up to a certain level, but when you pressure it past that level, then it falls apart. And we want to be aware of that too. You know, we may have to go back to the drill cycle and work on it a little more.
Okay.
But and as you guys know, it's an endless process, and that's one of the reasons why simplicity is mastery. We pick good, simple, basic multi-tools that fit in different scenarios, and we're talking about the frame today. That is one of those tools, and we work on ingraining it in multiple areas of the combative exchange.
Okay. All right. Well, that gives us a lot to begin training.
Gives us a roadmap for the next couple of years.
Yeah, no, for real.
What's up, Coach?
Did you get something out of the day?
Every time. Every single time. I've done you guys call it the tie and untie, or the low tie and untie drill. But I've done that for years out of Filipino college.
Right.
And, the bladed mechanics makes a lot of sense to me because we spent a lot of time working the blade in college, not so much the firearm. I feel like I'm having to catch up a little bit on that. So when you're going through your training process for this, sound like a brand new, I haven't done much martial arts if any. How do you build your where to start from?
Well, for most guys, and we've talked about this before, is I usually start with the combat blueprint.
Yeah.
And it kind of depends on who we're working with. You guys have been doing this for a while, so you've already got a lot of experience in, and that includes a lot of perspective, because a lot of what will change you as a combat artist is your perspective, how you think. When you look at great instructors, for me, when I go visit great instructors like Guru, Anasano, Sensei Eric, One of the things I come away with is, why didn't I think of those things? I didn't consider that. In other words, I didn't have that perspective. So those guys are thinking on a different level. So for me, that's one of the reasons to use the blueprint, is to get outside of systemized thought and approach the combat exchange on an unsystemized perspective.
Yeah.
And again, it'll plug in the individual's belief systems, their previous experience, and that sort of thing. But there's a lot of mind tools we use to build on top of that. Like today, we talked about timing. Mm-hmm. And timing is a universal principle. It applies to everything, martial arts, life.
Yeah.
Generally, you don't always get to be ahead of time. Sometimes we'd like to think, I'm going to train, I'm going to get really good at this, and I'm always going to be successful. But every now and then you run into someone that puts you behind the curve, and you want to have trained information for that situation as well. So you're prepared. It's one of the reasons we train and put so much time in, is preparation for the day that, if it comes, we're placed in that chaotic moment and we have to make those decisions, or our body has to make those decisions. For me, like when I roll with the animals on the mat, and I'm under a tremendous amount of pressure, I react. I don't really think. And reaction is based on intelligent training. In my opinion, specifically, drilling. Mm-hmm. So if my reaction in that moment is not what I'm looking for, that's why I want to write it down and then fix it. I have to go look at systems and look at different methodologies and find the fix. If I can't find it, then you go to the next level, and we might have to build a drill to fix it.
So, we're doing all this stuff on YouTube, and there's a billion people putting stuff out for individuals to watch and consume, and we're hoping people get a little educational value out of what we're doing. Mm-hmm. For the people who don't have access to somebody who thinks outside of the box, and they're watching stuff online, and everybody is selling something, how can you, or what do you look for in that information that you can go, this one has some value to what they're saying? Because we're all trying to sell something.
Well, it comes down to common sense.
Okay.
And the fact or the principle that you don't know what you don't know. Like, there's a lot of stuff I don't know. I just don't know I don't know it yet.
Yeah.
But I want to find out. So I'm going to seek the things I don't know. That's why I still find people. I still go study with them. I look for new teachers and new perspectives. And along that path, I get a bigger bullshit meter. So I can look at something, and a lot of times the bullshit meter is wired with common sense. And so you can look at it in common sense. Do I think that'll work? Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, that's going to have an opinion behind it too. And your opinion is going to be based on your time and training, your perspective, your experiences. So everybody has different opinions, right? But 5 years from now, your opinion may adjust. What you think is something real may not be. But more than likely, that change in opinion, that change in perspective, is going to be based on wisdom from searching, from looking, from seeking, from trying to find out what you don't know.
Click this thumbs up.
Click. My people love me.
That's for you, Jen. That's because you're not here.
Since you couldn't be here.
Yeah.
All right, guys, if you like the content that you're seeing and you want to see more of it, give us a like and subscribe, so when we release something new, you'll be one of the first to be notified of it. Also, if you have friends that may be interested in this information, turn us on to them. Let them know we're here.
They have friends?